Alright everybody, it's Virginia Outdoors Unlimited here today, and I've been kind of looking for a video to do for the past couple of weeks. I know I said I'd get back to regular posting in my last video, but unfortunately I just haven't had a lot of video ideas. I don't want to have a couple hunting video ideas, but I don't want to burn them up before hunting season really comes like into season. You know, we're still 2 months away from even dove hunting, so I've been just kind of sitting back a little bit, but found some video that I thought I had lost. I thought I had deleted this video by accident. But it was actually on my hard drive. I was looking through my hard drive, found it. And it's basically of me making jerky. I made a post on my Instagram actually when I made this jerky, like, shoot, probably 2 months ago now. And I said the video was going to be posted, and then I had a problem with my hard drive. I thought my hard drive was destroyed. Ended up being able to recover a lot of the footage. So basically this video is just going to be me making, I basically turned 4 goose breasts, 4 whole goose breasts, sliced them thin, put them in the dehydrator, and made jerky. This video, it kind of transitioned. So at the beginning, when I was filming this at the beginning, like during the jerky making process, I thought I was going to cut it like square and let it be kind of chewy on the inside a little bit because I thought I was going to eat it very quickly. I didn't really need it to have a lot of shelf life. What I ended up doing was slicing it really thin just because it ended up being more convenient, and then I just dehydrated it all the way through, made sure it was like real jerky basically, no moisture on the inside. It stored for like a month, and then we ate it all by the end of a month. So yeah, this jerky turned out pretty good. I document pretty much the whole process, so if you guys want to do this yourself, it's a really easy process. I would definitely recommend it if you just have some leftover meat from the season before around. So I hope you guys enjoy the video and stay tuned. Alright everybody, so here's the meat that we're going to be using. This is 4 goose breasts from this fall that were frozen in a vacuum sealed bag. So these were 4, this is basically the meat from 2 geese that I killed this fall. And it's been frozen for probably about, I'm guessing between 2 and 4 months. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cut it up in this bag, and I'm going to put the meat down on the cutting board I have here below the meat, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how I'm going to cut it. So as you guys can see here, there was a lot of blood in that bag, so I just cut it open, and now they're still a little bit frozen, so I'm just running a little bit of lukewarm water over them just to help thaw out the outsides a little bit more so that it'll be easier to cut. But you know, this is just going to take me a few minutes, and then we'll be ready to cut up the meat into the portion sizes that we're going to end up using. Alright, so I do not have a tripod, so I won't be able to actually show you guys how I'm cutting the meat, but I'm going to turn around the camera here, and just like after I finish this, I'm going to show you guys. Basically, we're going to be cutting the meat into kind of like long squares, basically, I guess, basically like into long strips. It's not going to be, I know a lot of jerky's kind of thin like this. It's going to be a little bit more square, like this, kind of like almost like what a Slim Jim would look like in terms of shape, except it's going to be square. So that's how I'm going to try to cut the meat, just so I can get the most meat on the drying racks as possible. And I'll show you guys what I'm going to be putting it in. We are going to use a marinade, so I'll be showing you guys the marinade and everything. But yeah, I'm just going to get to cutting the meat, and then I'll show you guys exactly how I'm cutting it and where I'm putting it. Alright, so like I said, we're going to be cutting the meat like this, basically, just into strips. We're going to strip the meat, and then once I'm done with that, I'm going to be putting in this glass basically pan here, and then we're going to get all the meat in there, and then we're going to put the marinade on top of that. But first I got to cut this meat, so I'm going to get to cutting, and then I'll show you guys basically what the meat looks like when the whole breast is cut up. Alright, so that's what my meat looks like all cut up. I'll show you guys. I ended up not cutting into as much of cubes as I thought I would, so it's pretty thin, pretty long. That's about the average piece that I'm looking for. You know, about as long as my fingers, just about, you know, pretty thin. You don't want it thick when you do this because you want it to be able to dehydrate pretty much all the way through to kill any bacteria that were in there. And then that's kind of just the idea of jerky. There was a little bit of silver skin on that was really hard to get off, so I left a little bit of silver skin on. You want to get as much of that fat and silver skin off as you can, but I did, as you can see here, leave a little bit of silver skin on. But you know, that's pretty much what I'm looking for right there. Pretty, you know, thinner than my finger for sure.
and then nice and long so that I can get as much on the drying racks as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and cut up these other 3 breasts, and then we'll see how much meat we have, and we might go and get those other three breasts that I still have in the refrigerator. We have the other 3 breasts right here. So yeah, stay tuned. Alright guys, so we are on the last breast now. I'm going to attempt to show you how I cut this meat. Here's the trimmings over here, and we got a decent pile of meat so far. You can see, you know, pretty much some average pieces like this. You know, we're looking for these long, thin pieces, not too long, but you know, about as long as my palm. So I'm going to try to attempt to hold this phone with one hand and try to cut, or I might try to set up this phone. So let me try to set up this phone, and then I will hopefully try to show you exactly how I'm cutting this meat. Alright, so now we only used those 4 goose breasts. That was really all I needed to fill up the bottom of this pan. And we're going to use, I think, 7 different ingredients for the marinade. I'm just going off something I saw, another video of a marinade. But we're going to try use about a cup of this. This is basically just a marinade I think we got at a store a while back. But it's mainly soy sauce with some other ingredients mixed in. So we're going to use, so that's gourmet sweet and sour kind of as our base. We're going to use about the same amount of that as Worcestershire sauce, so about a little bit less than a cup of Worcestershire, and then we're going to use about a little bit of paprika, a little bit of ground ginger, some ground garlic, black pepper, and brown sugar. There's not really any specific measurements, just do it to taste. I'll probably do, you know, not a ton of paprika, not a ton of ground ginger, then I'll probably do, you know, a decent bit of both garlic and black pepper, and then about probably about 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, because I do like it pretty sweet. So we're going to go ahead and mix that all together, and then I'll get back. So I have now mixed together my whole marinade. I went with probably about a cup of that, about half probably about a little bit less than half a cup of Worcestershire, about a teaspoon and a half of paprika, about a teaspoon and a half of ground ginger, about a tablespoon of garlic, a ground garlic, about a tablespoon of black pepper, and then 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And it came up to, you know, it's not all the way over the top of the meat, but the meat, you know, I mixed up with my hands, got everything so that everything's mixed together. And now we're going to put it in the refrigerator, and we're going to marinate it for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then we'll go to the dehydrating process. So I don't want to let this marinate overnight. I know some people let it marinate overnight, but I'm just going to put it in there for a pretty short time. I don't want it to get, I want the meat to still have the flavor of goose meat. I want the marinade to do its job, but I don't want the marinade to overpower the meat. So just going to marinate for a little while, let everything kind of come together, and then we will put it in the dehydrator. Alright, so there's the meat in the refrigerator, and I'm going to go play some video games for about 2 hours, and then we will come back and put everything in the dehydrator and get to work. Alright, so here's our meat. It's about 2.5 hours after I put it in the refrigerator, and the process now is going to be, I was actually planning to do this with the oven because I knew we had a dehydrator, but I thought we had gotten rid of it. We hadn't used it in forever, but we actually do have a dehydrator, so I'm just going to use this. I'll show you guys what temperature settings I'm going to use it on in a minute. But basically what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to transfer the meat that's been marinating out of there and put it on some paper towels and pat it down really good, get it really dry, because you want the outside of the meat to be as dry as possible so that it dehydrates well. Any moisture will make the dehydrating process slower, and it won't end up doing as good of a job. So I'm going to move this meat out of the pan, or out of the pan onto the paper towels, and I'll show you guys what I do to get it all dry. Alright, so I've only done half the meat now, but as you can see what I did is basically I just put it down on some paper towels and then took another layer of paper towels and put the meat down, and I'm just patting it dry here just so that, you know, we get all the excess moisture out so that it will dehydrate as quickly and as thoroughly as possible. And then I'm going to do the other half of the pan. You know, I did half the pan, I'm going to do the other half, and then we're going to start loading it into the dehydrator. I'll talk about, you know, what settings I'm going to put it on for how I want my jerky. All right, so I went ahead and just loaded one rack. I think we're probably going to use at least 3, if not all 4 of the racks that came with this dehydrator unit. But one thing I wanted to show you guys that I'm doing is because if you don't oil these racks like I'm doing here, the meat will stick. So just go ahead and make sure you oil down your dehydrator racks. At least that's what with this dehydrator something you do have to do, because if you don't, your meat will stick. And another thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put the thinner pieces on the bottom, because this unit does heat from the top. So I want to put my thickest pieces on top so that it kind of at least cooks more evenly, because I didn't cut the meat perfectly. There are some pretty thick pieces and there are some really thin pieces. So I'm hoping to, by spreading out the meat in terms of thickest on top and thinnest on bottom, I'll get more of an even dehydration. So I'm going to go ahead and load this, load all 3 racks, and I'll show you guys what the machine looks like, the dehydrator looks like loaded up, and then we will set it to cook. Alright, so we loaded up all 4 racks on this unit. I can actually go ahead and show you 1, 2, that's just 2 of them. Oiled up all the racks to make sure that no meat sticks, and I tried to put the thicker pieces on top so that we would get an even dehydration. So now what we're going to do is just go ahead and, there's some water back there. We're going to go ahead and put the top on, and I'm going to get 1 second to get a little bit of this water up, get everything situated, and then we are going to set the temperature. We're going to be setting it to 155 Fahrenheit, which is the highest that this unit goes for meat. And then I'll be checking on it periodically, but I'm guessing it's probably going to take me between 4 and 5 hours to get this meat dehydrated to the right levels. I know some people like their jerky really just completely dried out, just chewy as all get out. I like my jerky, not completely dried out. I definitely want it dehydrated well, but I don't like it as dried out as some other people do. So we'll probably give it a little bit less time than others. We'll probably go about 4 hours, and I think probably 5 hours is about the max that you want to do. So yeah, I'm gonna get everything cleaned up here, and then we'll set the unit up in terms of temperature. Alright everybody, so it's pretty late right now. It's about 8 hours after I initially put this in, and I pulled out the first few pieces and tried some of them, and I realized I was wrong when I said that I liked my jerky to be chewy on the inside, and I was only going to do it like 4 hours. It just wasn't good. And I had like one of the super duper thin pieces, like incredibly thin, and that was really good. And that was about half as thin as all the other pieces, almost about the average cut that I did. So I decided to leave them in for 8 hours, and we're going to come down here and check. And if I'm going to try one of the biggest pieces, and I'm going to try one about the medium-sized pieces. And if the medium-sized one is good, I'm going to pull those off. And then if the big size is good, I'm going to pull all of them off. So I'm going to unplug this thing, take off the top, and we're going to check this out. So that right there is the top rack. As you can see, we got racks below it. And just pick up a piece. This is a pretty thin piece, and that's what I'm looking for. See, earlier when there was light color in there, and with jerky, you don't want any light color, because you're making jerky so it has a lot of shelf life by getting all the water out of it. So you don't want any light color inside of it. I actually just went and looked that up online. This is my first time making jerky, as I said before. So I'm definitely a learning process. It's definitely a learning process, but that's a good piece of jerky right there. That's one of the thinner pieces though, so we got to find a big thick piece and see if that one's cooked all the way through. So I'm going to put this phone down and try to make sure that all this is cooked through. Alright, so I ended up taking about there's 4 racks on here, so now there's only 2. I ended up taking about half the meat off. Most of the medium to thin pieces I took off, and then what's on here now is just the thicker pieces. And I'm going to let this run for about 1 more hour. So the medium pieces, to my taste, took about 8 hours. And then the thicker pieces are going to probably take between 9 and 10 hours. So definitely a long process, but if you start in the morning, it's not a process that's high maintenance. You just kind of let it sit, and it does its thing. So, I've tried it. It's pretty good jerky in my opinion. And hopefully we'll finish up this batch before it gets too late. Alright everybody, so I just took the cover off the dehydrator here. I'll show you guys right here. We were down to 2 racks, took it off, and I just tested a piece of meat, pretty much one of the thickest pieces of meat, and it's done. You know, what I was looking for is, at first I thought I would want it to be a little bit juicy on the inside, you know, not cooked all the way through, because I figured I'd eat this batch fairly quickly. But I tried a piece like that after about 4 or 5 hours, and I just did not like the taste that much. It tasted a little bit gamey because this is goose meat, and our geese tend to be a little bit gamey. So I said I was just going to cook it all the way through, really dehydrate it like you would to regular jerky. And so these bigger pieces, they took 12 hours. It's midnight right now, but you know, I got what I wanted in the end. Kind of an overview of this process for me in terms of, you know, like I said, this is my first time ever making jerky. So for me, I think it's a really awesome process. It's easy to do. It's really 3 steps. It's marinating your meat, cutting your meat, marinating your meat, and then dehydrating your meat. It's really easy, not really too hands-on, and what you get in the end is a good product. You get a good tasty product that can be stored for a long time. It can be eaten as snack food, and you know, it's really hard to not like jerky. It's hard to make jerky wrong. I mean, as long as you get your marinade right and, you know, dehydrate it for the proper amount of time, it's going to turn out pretty good most of the time, and I really am enjoying this jerky. I've already ate probably about half a pound of it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a comment if you guys had any different tips on, you know, maybe how to make different types of jerky, things of that nature, maybe something I did wrong, or if you guys would like to see different videos, you know, cooking videos or things of that nature. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because, you know, I've never done a cooking video before, but I'm happy to do more of them. Turkey season's coming up, so we'll probably cook a turkey if I get one of those. And thank you very much for watching.